So let's just start with pollination. What's pollination? Pollination is an ecosystem of tools for environmental building design and simulation, and it's an and platform. So it's a collaboration platform and a collection of CAD Beam plugins, and it's an app store, and it is a cloud computing service. So it's an and platform, it's not an or. The reason it's important because we are trying to give you options that you don't have to go between different things now and say, oh, I have to pick between accuracy or ease of use, or I have to pick between accuracy and being able to customize. So there are tools out there that are easy to use. Mostly that's their point of view. There are tools that are accurate and validated. And then there are tools between. So Climate Studio is easy to use and accurate, validated. Ladybug tools is customizable and accurate and validated. If you know Grasshopper is also easy to use. Most people don't. But then that's where Pollination comes in, which is easy to use, customizable, and accurate and validated. The way we have made this possible is basically going through this layered, customizable technologies that we have been involved, or we use other technologies to build on top of. The key is all these layers are hackable. That means you can build an app in hours to days, or you can go all the way back and like work on our plugin and extend it in days to weeks, or go all the way down and like extend the API. Because of this, we can provide you solutions that are both accurate and customizable at the same time and are easy to use. This is what it takes to make that happen. And a few things that we want to also resolve here is we want to have a tool, provide a tool for you that is available in early design and detailed design, a tool that is used by architects and engineers. So to make that happen, we had to develop several technologies. We have cloud computing and web interface. We have CAD plugins. We have Pollination Apps in the middle. Our Grasshopper plugin works with Ladybug tools. Our CAD plugins export to several tools out there that you can use outside Pollination ecosystem. All the CAD plugins support cloud computing and are connected to Pollination Cloud. The CAD plugins are also connected to Pollination Apps, and from Pollination Apps, you can use cloud computing if you want, and you can use third-party services. So for today, we will focus on this guy here, Revit. But you can use everything else from this ecosystem. So what does Pollination Revit do? Similarly, with the and mentality, it does several things. So it extracts coin geometry from Revit. It assigns simulation metadata to your simulation model. It exports analytical model to several platforms, and it runs simulations locally and on the cloud. I put locally in brackets because this is still under development, but you can run simulations either locally or on Pollination Cloud from Revit. Again, it does all of this together. What is the principle behind the Revit plugin? So there are a few principles, I think, that makes Revit plugin different from other solutions in the market. And to go through the list, there are no two Revit models that are the same. So every Revit model that we get is different. People are building them differently, and we accept that. We don't go against that. I don't think we can have rules for everyone to make the Revit models the same way. That's not going to happen anytime soon, at least. Then there is no single analytical model. The other belief is there is no one model that is going to rule them all. You have to have flexibility of different representation of your model based on different type of studies that you want to do, based on where you are in the design process, based on how clean your input model is. Third, there is no silver bullet, fully automated solution. At least what we have right now with, sorry, I have to let people in, with the quality of the Revit models that we see, there will not be a silver bullet. There will not be fully automated single click. Like, it will take time. It's possible, I'll show you, but it's not. We're not there as an industry. So we should just accept this and save everyone a lot of time and effort. And finally, communication is the key for successful automation. Because we prepare models in very different ways, we need this communication between different parties who are using the Revit plugin for some for documentation, and some for energy modeling, some for daylight modeling, comfort, all these things. You have to communicate with people. This idea of like, I don't want to talk to the other party, I don't like them or whatever, and everything needs to be automated possible, is going to take you much longer. Just know communication is part of the successful automation and successful collaboration. Again, and between all of this. So what makes Pollination plugin different from the solutions? The first thing, as I say, is designed for helping you with imperfect models. The idea is the model that you get is not perfect. I liked how, hopefully I pronounced your name right, Levin, and I saw him is actually on the call, put it together. You don't need to read the whole thing, but the first two paragraphs is nice things about pollination, but I like this one a lot. I believe there is no magic happening behind pollination workflow, does not offer a one-size-fits-all solution. However, with some user interaction, pollination can clearly save significant amount of time while enabling us to deliver a better built environment. That's the key. There is no magic. We have I call it anti-magic approach. I don't know even if it's in English is an accurate word, but just no magic. Let's just get real. Magic is not going to happen. The magic is inside you guys, talking to other people, just building together, learning best practices, and figuring this out as we go. So our approach has been, if there is no magic, then you have to provide a lot of flexibility and control. So this is one of the differences here, is there you see two levels of flexibility here. One is the linked model that I have a slides for, so I'll talk about it more. But the other thing is for apertures and curtain walls, we not only let you pick which ones are the apertures in your model, but we also let you filter them by material. So if you have a window fixed octagon, you can say if the wood material is part of your glazing or the clad white is, or do you want to only export the glass? So we give you this level of control here. We also give you a level of control on how you want to export your model. If you are early design, you just want to do a quick loads calculation, you want to get an extruded model, you don't want to clean it, we have the extruded mode. If you want to do a detailed export model, you want to do comfort studies, you want to do accurate daylight studies, you can go with detailed mode. This goes back that there is no single analytical model. There are things a bit in between, depends on what you're trying to do. And we also give you control on exporting just part of the model for the studies that you need. I think this is one of those things that when you have it, it feels like, of course, but then not many tools are supporting them. And there is a reason for that, because it's not easy to figure it out. So we give you export level by level if you want, or even like just a few rooms in a level. You have control on that. Then a new thing that we have started to add most recently during the past few months, I think between the last user meetup presentation that we had and now, is we started to include built-in repairing tools. So we all know like how Revit is. The other thing that we learned is, even I talked about collaboration, connection, and people talking. In Revit models, ownership is very complicated. So we see a lot of cases, especially with mechanical engineers, who cannot touch the architectural model. So they cannot change the room bounding elements there. They cannot fix the rooms. They have to redraw their spaces, but again, the spaces needs those elements in the architectural model. So it's hard for them to do all those stuff. And we're trying to add new functionalities like this one, that you can basically draw lines in your Revit model. And during the export process, we align the rooms to that line. It's helpful for making a lot of alignment in your model. The case that we have seen this being very useful is the hospital buildings, or any type that you have like a lot of dots here and there. Residential buildings also, interestingly enough, can take advantage of this, because there are too many details usually, and walls with different thickness that causes this small differences. We have other one here for short segment distance. We are working for another one that allows you to draw areas in Revit and basically just remove everything in the middle and just export that. We had a request to be able to only do envelope only export. So those are the features that we are working on, and a few of them are available for you to already to use. One comment, these two, at least for now, are only available in extruded mode, not in the detailed mode. Then the next thing is we support linked models, and we support linked models without binding them. So this is also a new feature, needs more documentation. But if you've downloaded like during the last month, you probably see there is a link manager up there, which allows you to tap into other linked models. And you can say which data you want to get from which linked model. So if you have several linked models, if you have one model for context, you can only get the context from that. If you have an architectural model that has, or a linked model for facade, exterior, then you can get the apertures from those. And then while you're working, you can basically switch between them. So this is the manager for apertures, right? I'll just go from host, I went to the other model, and I can select the apertures from that linked model. It doesn't want to go next. The other thing that makes Pollination Revit plugin and Pollination ecosystem in general different is for interoperability, we are going beyond GBXML. And the reason for that is because GBXML, basically, and how different products are treating GBXML. It wasn't reliable enough for us to offer a solution that we can basically stand behind and say it's going to work. So we started to write directly to other tools in their native file format instead of trying to go to GBXML. There are still platforms like Design Builder and Task that you have to use GBXML, and we are in touch with them, with the Design Builder team at least, to make sure the GBXML that's exported can be imported in GBXML successfully, in Design Builder successfully. But we have exports to RAD, for Radiance, GEM for IES, HPJSON for Ladybug Tools and Pollination Rhino, OSM for Open Studio, IMP with eQuest. The IMP font is beta, and IDF for Energy Plus. So that's another thing that makes it different. And we guarantee like all this ones, except for IMP, which is better right now, will be exported. At least you get the geometry as is clean. If it's not, it's a bug, we will fix it for you. So if you have a validated model in Revit, then it should be exported to all these different file formats correctly. And then last but not least, we are community driven. The way we develop the tool is community driven. Even this is like a commercial product, we still develop it similar to how you would do any other product that we have developed. And the good thing about that is you don't need to buy like 100 licenses from us to listen to you. And I think everyone gets to see it. And that's very important for us. Of course, if you buy several licenses, as people on this call, there's some of them can confirm, and we know you're using it on your projects, we always provide the support that you need to make sure you have a successful delivery. But at the same time, we want everyone to feel that they can come in, and if they have something that makes sense, we'll listen to you, we include it. And I think I can say that we are really good at listening to feedbacks and implementing them in the tool. So with that, I'm going to go through, if you're new here or if you're thinking how people are using Revit plugin right now, I wish I could have shown some of the projects that we are helping the offices to work with. But unfortunately, one of the other things about Revit, which makes it different from Rhino, is like everything is confidential. We can't show models and all those. But these are the ways that we see people are using the Revit plugin right now. So one is like, I feel it like a Southwest approach in the US. You just like want to get away. And I think the thing is, people are like, I don't know how to use Revit. I don't like Revit. I get a Revit model. Give me a model. I'll just fix everything outside. So we see this a lot, that people just use Revit basically as the Revit plugin as something that cleans up the model quickly. They give them a clean analytical model, and then they do the simulation in any of the tools on the right side. Then the second approach, which is for people who are more comfortable with Rhino, is people go from Revit to Rhino, do the cleanup in Rhino, and then go to all these different tools. So one of the good things about pollination ecosystem is because we built them on the same root and main trunk of a tree, they share this possibilities to export to different models, and they have the same quality, so it works everywhere. And of course, because Rhino is more flexible, people find it. This is my workflow too. For like, I'll go over from Revit to Rhino after spending a little bit of time in Revit and try to print the model, because it's just simply faster to do it this way. I understand there are concerns about pricing, and we have been flexible for people if you want to use both. But again, I'll show it at the end. I think our pricing is really affordable for the values that this offers. I mean, I'm open to feedback on that, of course. Then from Rhino, you can go to Pollination Cloud to run simulation. There are cases that we have seen, and I tried to find the slide from Amir on LinkedIn. I couldn't, but one of the cases is people come from Revit to Rhino cleanup, go to Grasshopper to basically start doing parametric studies using Ladybug tools and all those. There are cases that they go from Ladybug tools, then pollination in Grasshopper, and run parametric studies on cloud, or run a single study on cloud. And there are cases that basically Rhino goes to Grasshopper for some automated cleanup, and then goes back and export to any of the tools on the right side. We recently added 2 components for export to IES, GEM, and to IMP from inside Grasshopper. It was Rhino only before, so you should be able to export all those file formats between the Pollination Grasshopper plugin or Ladybug Tools Grasshopper plugins. Any questions so far? And you can just you can either type, or you can just open your mic and start asking your questions. So this is a video that I recorded for the IES team. They wanted to present pollination in their interoperability workshop, and this is a model that they had. This model was, they recreated it for energy simulation. I thought when I set this to 2x, it will go 2x, but it didn't. So this basically shows the process. I don't want to go through the whole process here, because you can see that online. We have a YouTube channel and all those. So basically, I go to the selecting the aperture, and here adding the context for the roof, selecting all the apertures, you know. And then, blah, blah, blah. Yep, like this one that you see here, that because the room is double height in a place and it's not on the other side, so how do you resolve that? That's another new thing that we have added to the Revit plugin, that you can, even in detailed mode, you can right-click on a room and override the height. So if you have a room that is multiple height, or something is not right and you want to fix it, you can just right-click on it and overwrite the height if you want. At some point, I should right-click and do that. So it's okay. So the next thing that I wanted to show is the option that you have, other option that you have that I just talked about is, again, go 2x here, is to export your model as HVJSON and then bring it into Rhino. So in this case, I bring the same model into Rhino. I can do better checks on geometry, and I can do things that will take some more work to do in Revit. For example, add some shades manually. So I draw some shades here, just make them shade objects, and then copy them around quickly. And these are the things that are designed to do in Rhino quickly, and my understanding is faster than doing it in IES or Design Builder, simply because it's in Rhino, right? It's a full-fledged 3D modeling environment that you can use. And at the end, I think I export this to IES, that it shows that you can export there. To my side, the screen share resolution is very low and hard to see the detail. So if you have issues on seeing the resolution on screen, Google Meet has an option for settings. You can right click on that, I think they call it kebab thing, dot, 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 and click on settings. And then inside settings, I can't move it, unfortunately. There, if you click on video, you can say the send and receive resolution. So my send resolution is high definition, so you can, at least it sends high resolution. Then receive, you have to set it up on your end. Okay, then going back, last but not least, you can do the same thing going from Revit coming to Rhino, but this time you can use Grasshopper for a lot of automation stuff that is hard to do in other platforms. So in this case, I'm adding, shape based on depth and distance. So I can take advantage of all the good things that Ladybug tools provide. And in this case, I had to bake them back, but now we have the direct export to IES, so you don't have even to do this. And now you'll see like the model goes to IES, and you will see the shade thickness is a little bit too much. It's 10 centimeters. That was the default. This one has changed to 1 centimeters after the discussion that we had on the forum. So this is the third workflow. And then there is a bonus workflow that we are working on. And it's kind of like, you go from all those flexibility and complexity to simplicity, but elegant simplicity. And that's a connection between Revit and Pollination Apps. You have probably seen, or if you haven't, there is a button here for Pollination Apps and connect the Revit model to Pollination. Again, there is a video on YouTube that you can go watch if you want. So what I show there, I show like how you can bring the Revit model into this app that does energy simulation. If you don't know what apps are, Pollination Apps are web applications that anyone can develop, and we have developed that can be integrated into our CAD plugins, like a CAD plugin. I said 2 CAD plugins. So any Pollination Apps that you develop can be deployed as a Rhino plugin or Revit plugin, and eventually a SketchUp plugin. So that's ideally where we want to go. This is beta. So the whole infrastructure is built. Things are working. But the reason we still call it beta is because, again, Revit, there are a few things in Revit that we have to make sure we do right before ask everyone, make sure everyone, is going to use them, including, for example, solve adjacency. I see a massive question here. Yeah, so Fadwa, if you have an issue with the resolution, click on settings, and then you can set the receive resolution on your end. I'm not going to bore you with this video. You can go watch it online. So I'm going to talk about what are next. And I think we will have a good amount of time for Q&A or live demo, depending if anyone has questions. So the things that we have on our list right now, next is to continue improving the curtain wall parsing routines and apertures, especially with linked models. We still have cases that people do weird things, or Revit models are strange and we can't parse all the apertures. And in that case, every single Revit model that you guys share helps. Because as I said, there are not 2 Revit models that are the same. And this has been helpful, and we have made a lot of improvement over the time because we have access to a lot of Revit models that people share with us. So that's one. I think we already do better than any other tool out there, but this is something that we really want to get near perfect because it's critical for more people to be able to use it and use it quickly. The other topic that we will work on and we have on the list is to automate the process between room and spaces. So now that more and more mechanical engineers are picking up Pollination Revit and they are in linked model for MEP and they want to work with the spaces, we hear this a lot that basically architects move the rooms around and then there is no automated way to get the spaces to align with them. So that's something that we are working on. Still, the best way, if you can access that architectural model or source model and make fixes there, that's the most recommended solution. But we understand that's not possible, so that's why we are going to work on this. I see your questions there. I'll get back to them. And then the third one is we are working on adding additional methods to repair the model in Revit. Excuse me, as I mentioned, the idea is, again, we're not going to change the Revit model itself because people don't like that. It's more of write routines that takes the model, does the fix on the fly, show to people what's the model before they export it, similar to the align command that I just mentioned. This seems to be the best bet right now for people to have enough flexibility to fix the model. They don't need to go to Rhino, and they can still get a very good quality model from Revit. And finally, support bringing the simulation results back to Revit. This is also something that we hear more and more as more mechanical engineers use it, and people who are using it, like export the model from Revit, go to other tools, run the simulation. They want to bring back the simulation results back. Even if you go to Rhino, then the simulation result, you want to push it back to Revit to be able to use it for reports, making all those graphics. We understand that, and we are working on it, and that should be very possible. It will take a few iterations, but I just want to let you know that these are the 4 items that we have on the list right now. And if you think there is something else is important for you, you know where to go. The place is to go to our discourse forum and then push feature requests. Okay, let me get back to questions here. Will there be made tutorials on how to create custom pollination apps? Mark, yes, we have a user meetup already that is recorded that shows you how to do custom pollination apps. It's on YouTube, you can find it. We have on our, what's that, pollination, we call it, user manual. There is a section for apps that walks you through building an app from scratch. I will be teaching a workshop if you're not around here, but if anyone is coming to the AEC Tech, we are going to teach a workshop in like next week. For apps, we try to record it. I can't promise, but we try to record that and put it online so people can see. And that's kind of like, that's our next year work, just to make tutorials, better documentation, get more people to be able to use this. So Assis has a question. Any other Beam tool for which pollination plugin development is in the roadmap? Are you talking about ArchiCAD? So no, right now we're not doing any. We don't have plans to do ArchiCAD, and the reason is after also developing it for SketchUp, we realized we should slow down, make sure everything works with the current plugins that we have, and figure out all the edge cases, everything, and then that should be easier to start thinking about other platforms. I have seen your approach from ArchiCAD going to IFC, going to Revit, going to Pollination. I think that's good, and then ArchiCAD to Grasshopper to Pollination is also good. Unfortunately, we don't have it on the roadmap right now. Justin, I see your hand, but let me read the questions and I'll get there. What amount of cleanup required in the model to be good to export? For example, columns and beams, which did not play any role in simulation. So, great question. There are different ways of doing that. The easiest way for columns and beams is just to select them and right-click and say not room bounding. Select all the instances, and that will be resolved. But it depends on the model. There are tutorials on YouTube that go through the whole process, so you can watch them and see what it takes. It depends on your model, but they're all possible for removing all the columns and all those. And that's one of the reasons we put that to remove the small edges, because we wanted you to be able to remove those edges automatically. But that's a work in progress feature. The first solution that I suggested works much better. Justin, you can unmute yourself.
Double muted. Hey guys, great work with the Pollination plugin. Admittedly, as soon as I started using it, I wanted a lot more features from it. In particular, the model cleanup is a big one. I know you already listed on the roadmap a few feedback things. Our ideal workflow would be one where we're not exporting or detaching the Revit model from the central model, so that every update we make, it continually just keeps adding to it, so that when things like rooms and spaces shift, our model can just easily export again and redo it. The problem is that, the room bounding aspect is really throwing us off. There hasn't really been a model that we've run yet where we haven't needed to use the model line approach. And the challenge with that is Revit never really was set up very well for model line like iteration. Like, for example, if I'm drawing, like, basically I get to the point where I need to draw a model line for every single wall in the building to make it all aligned so that I wouldn't get gaps. So it begs the question, might there be a better workflow, or might there be tools you could build around model lines to say, like, any model line with the name pollination in it, or of a certain characteristic? Because what I'm struggling with is I create a model line and then I have to put it in that layer, and then that
Right.
takes it's like 3 steps just to get the model lines in there. Another thing could be, is there a pollination parameter we can apply to all the walls and say, ignore room bounding for pollination but not for Revit, so that we can fiddle with our own room bounding characteristics without throwing off all the architect's area
Oh,
calculations, basically. Um, and then another feature is, I'm getting more engineers asking about pollination. They're really excited about it, especially because, there's been their own struggles with 700 leaving, Trace 700 leaving. They may or may not like ISVE. They want to be open to more options. And in that, I already see that we can do, room low calcs, right? Given the app that exists. I think one of the questions is, can we then bring that data back, which I know you mentioned, but I think we need better information around, like, how would an engineer use this tool for load calculations, because a lot of people don't know that Energy Plus is a totally sufficient calculation tool, but people are just like, oh, it's not 700 and it's not ISV. It's like, ISV is running the same ASHRAE heat balance engine. There's no difference. The difference is the report that you get, and people really like those reports because ISV just basically stole 700's homework on the reports. And I can't help but say maybe you guys should do the same, because it does mean that some engineers are really much more comfortable and they can see those engineering checksums. They can see, the breakdown and when the peak's occurring and all these things that are just kind of helpful, because anytime you add a new tool, the senior engineer is like, oh, well, it's not my Trace 700 calcs, I don't know if I can trust them.
right.
Just as a workflow process, it kind of feels like we need to play the same game, at least until we can make it even better with the syncing process, right? Because then eventually you can get the load calcs in there, the ventilation calcs, you can automatically size your diffusers, but most engineers still aren't even using the built-in diffuser downsizing air handle unit duct sizing framework anyway. So that's from the Revit side of things that I wanted to bring up.
Thank you so much. So I took notes of all of them. One that I really can appreciate if you document on Discourse is the adding the pollination parameter to walls to model to ignore some stuff.
Mm.
That's something that I didn't fully understand. And if you can document it so Conrad can see it, then I think that will be really helpful. And yes, all the suggestions that you made are very in line in what we're doing. For the load calculation, we even started the app for load calculation. It doesn't have any those kind of reports and everything. But again, with our accuracy first approach, we have one thing to resolve, and that's solve adjacency. How
Hmm.
do we do solve adjacency accurately in Revit, or we bring it to our core library so we can do it outside Revit, because our Revit plugin, because of like how walls are slightly aligned and the alignment issues that we talked about, is not as reliable for getting all the adjacencies right. And that's why,
Mm.
like, I usually go to Rhino and then draw lines, PO line, great, everything is fine working. And now you can go to the app. So that will take, like, that's the next step to do. But the good news is, like, that's on top of our list. So we will get over that. Like, that's easier in comparison with everything else that we had.
Yeah, Mustafa, it might be good. I recognize the process you just you mentioned about exporting and then doing model line grids in Rhino. I think it'd be helpful to show that workflow from Revit to there. I didn't actually think about connecting those two as a means of because my thought was I get the model, there's gaps all over the place. We're then stuck with a model with gaps, and then I'm gonna clean it all up in Rhino. And thinking about it from a very non-repeatable process, but using model line and snapping to it, I didn't think about initially until you really just said it, frankly. And that would be a process that would be really fast to repeat, because then I could just draw all the lines, and then when I re-import the Dragonfly,
Like DF
model
JSON,
from
you're right. Oh yeah,
DF JSON, yeah,
I should have. I just wrote it down. Yes, that's actually like my to-go
yeah.
workflow.
Yeah, that
Just
would be a
draw
lot better
like
than frankly, it's a lot better than all the model lines in Revit, though it does,
in
but
Revit.
it does mean that, the engineers that are running low calcs and not leaving Revit because they're not comfortable with Rhino, that we still need a solution there too. So
Yeah, sure.
cool.
And I think
Thanks.
like we will do more Rhino modeling for engineers, because honestly, when people get, and I have helped a few people along the way, and when people get comfortable, I think like everyone agrees that this saves them a lot of time. And because we have the IDs, we can technically sync the model. I know like we didn't continue developing that workflow because we didn't see that many users use it right away. But that's also still like something that we will get back to. Maybe like that's one of the hackathon projects that we have been talking about. So we'll see how it goes.
Cool.
Next question here.
Maybe just answered though. Also, Justin, you
Chris.
brought up the peak load calculation stuff, and maybe just to let you know where we are with that, because that is also definitely on our agenda, and we have a lot of the core infrastructure in place that can post process all the energy plus results to get you things like the load balance and like the things that we need there. But as far as, yeah, we definitely have it on our radar to make an official app that is able to produce a report very similar to like what you get out of IESV or Trace 700. It's just, yeah, we're just kind of working through some of the app infrastructure, but that is definitely on our agenda. That you will see a peak loads app that's able to do these HVAC sizing types of calculations down the line. But
That's
yeah, I
great to
just
know.
wanted to
I'm
answer
meeting
that.
with my engineers Tuesday of next week, so I'll let them know it's in the works.
Okay, awesome.
Exactly,
Yeah,
on pollination for engineering. It's like they reached out to me.
okay.
I didn't even reach out to them about it. So
Awesome. Yeah, that's the approach that we were seeing. I think Ladybug tools, we saw architects got like involved a lot earlier than engineers. Pollination for Revit plugin mainly, like a lot of engineers, because I think they understand the value of clean models and like the hardship of like making clean models in Revit and Rhino. That's exciting for us to bring both together. Balad, how do I pronounce your name? Are you still on the club? Is it Balaz? Or I don't know. So the question is, maybe I was led to the party, but it was discussed anything about HVAC modeling, detailed HVAC modeling topic. Not anything more than the one that we discussed on Discord. We will start with Rhino. So again, because again, all the engineers around the tool now, they want to do detailed HVAC in Pollination as much as possible. So our approach will be to give you a better integration with Ironbog. So basically, we will use Ironbog as our detailed HVAC engineering solution, HVAC modeling solution, and then from there we will see. But for now, the first step will be getting a better integration with Ironbog, documenting it, making a lot of tutorials for you guys so you can get it started. And then from there, we will just get a sense of where people are, what are the things that are hard. Because honestly, like between what you can do in Grasshopper with Ironbog and like any like ideal thing that we will build, they are very similar. The only thing is like Ironbog is in Grasshopper, and Ironbog is built on top of OpenStudio SDK. That means like you can continue stuff in OpenStudio. Again, like IES and other tools is a question of what we're going to do, but that's also on the list. You will see more videos and documentation from us next year. And then Justin here is more videos. Yes, like, yeah, videos, documentation, all those stuff is on our list for sure. And we know, like, we have a lot to do there. So I don't know if Victor is here, but we will document the Rhino commands better too. Like we like Mingba, not even like 50% we did it, but then we never finish it. We will finish that for you too. If there is no other questions, I'll continue with the presentation. Any other questions? No. Okay. Oh, okay. You're welcome. And you should. Can you what's that? Unmute yourself. Oh, we left actually before the call. So I really want to know how to pronounce his name correctly. So the rest of the presentation is one, you can start today, right? You can go to Pollination Revit plugin page and download the latest version. Then after downloading, you can go to our user manual. So this is the link to the user manual, docs.pollination cloud user manual, Revit plugin getting started. You can watch the videos on YouTube channel, Pollination YouTube, and this is the Pollination Revit plugin playlist that you can watch. And then you will definitely have some questions. As I said, there is no magic there. Your model will be different. There are things that you follow the videos and doesn't really work for you. You go to discourse, and some people ask me to say how the UI works. So you press here on new topic, or you can create a new message if you want to send it privately. Usually the best approach is to make a public post and ask your question. If you need your model, you can send it privately, and we help you with the model, and then we update everyone on what happened. Then you can select if it's a feature request, if it's a bug report, then you can write it here and press next, and then you'll be in. And for Revit questions, put them under the Revit plugin category. We have transparent pricing. If you want to buy it, if you like the plugin, this has been our price from the start and will stay the same for the foreseeable future for the CAP plugins. So we added, if you like, some people bought it earlier, we only had monthly. Now that enough people are using the tools and we know it's going to stay there, and we are going to stay around. So we added yearly billing, so you can buy the plugins yearly. For larger offices who want invoices, if you go, we put it on the website. If the order is large enough, we will do invoices. Invoicing is really hard, but we have the option for large orders to help you if you can buy it with credit cards. And let's see. If you are looking to, so this was good and got your interest and you want to have a hands-on workshop, we are presenting, we have 3 workshops at the AEC Tech. 2 are online. One is for the Rhino plugin, another one is for the Revit plugin, happening on November 1st. They're both half-day workshops. So in the morning is Revit, in the evening is Rhino. And then on November 3rd, if I'm not mistaken, is the in-person workshop in New York that we are going to teach Pollination Apps. We already did one in Chicago last week. It was very successful. If you go to Pollination website, you will see a few new apps that people deployed. So we could basically in half a day build the whole app and push it to Pollination. So that's another option that we have. And yeah, get yourself started with the user manual and everything else. We have 8 minutes still if you have any other questions. And thank you everyone who asked their questions so far. Are there any questions for us about the Revit plugin, or do you want some clarification on any topics? Nothing here. Okay, I'll use the time. Oh, there was a question. Is there any connection between Pollination and Ironbark? So you can already use Pollination and Ironbark by bringing the Pollination model to Rhino. And then from there, it gives you a honeybee model. And that honeybee model basically can be used to connect Ironbark to our Pollination model, similar to how connect Ironbark to Ladybug tools. But as I said, we are going to improve that so you can just directly get a more direct connection with the Pollination model. Heda has a question. Are you familiar with BOM? And if so, how does the geometry transferring between Rhino, Revit, Grasshopper differ between BOM and Pollination? So I'm familiar with BOM. I have not worked with it, or I have not used it. I know they have a connection actually from BOM to Ladybug Tools, the older plugin. I think one of the main differences between BOM and Pollination is in Pollination, we are very focused on environmental building simulation first. I think BOM is trying to be more than that. It's like a structural, environmental, everything. And the other thing is around HPJSON, we have built CAD plugins that, like that we offer as a product. It's BOM, my understanding is a fully open source project on what they have. I have not used it to know exactly what are the differences between the two. Maybe someone else on the call has used it who can provide more information.
I have seen they have created a translator from like BOM to Honeybee JSON file.
Oh,
yeah, they created something project like for that.
Oh, that's
the
new.
translation. Yeah.
Okay, I didn't know, but that's new for me. Great, then you can basically use both of them together. Even better. By when Pollination University and Performance Network may start? Very good question. Again, like that's part of our, next year doing more documentation, tutorial, all those. And realistically, it will be next year. Early next year is the time that we will do those videos. But maybe like we do one earlier. But I think that's to keep the quality where we want it to be. I think early next year is more realistic. Hi, Justin.
Hey, I have a question about apps. I've been noticing some reliability issues with using the apps in the CAD tools in particular. Like when you open up the app panel and then you try to start loading a page, it takes either a really long time to load or it just gets kind of stuck with like the home symbol and the refresh button at the top there. Is there any way to improve that performance so that people click on the button and it just opens it and moves through?
Yeah.
Is that one of those tier things where we have to upgrade the tier? And I'm mostly talking about all the apps you guys already have, like just showing off like the incident radiation.
No, that's right. That's why it's beta.
Okay.
That's the beta thing. When we have that, we will remove that beta from it. Yeah.
Okay.
So the reason that the way it just technically, so yes, is it possible? It is totally possible, and it's by design because right now, because of the costs, possible costs that we will have is we basically, when no one is using the app, I think for 5 or 6 minutes, we basically kill the instance. So if you click on the app and no one else is using it at that point, that means like you need to wait all the time for the instance to start, to come up, and then we can serve it to you. So if someone else is using it, clicked on it before you, then that means like it will be available right away. But otherwise, you have to wait. That's the part of that be in the beta.
Okay, that's good to know.
Yeah,
so it's really the first time, because it was one of those
Yes.
things where I was waiting and waiting and waiting, and I'm like, is it going to be like this every time? But no.
No.
It helps.
So like we can try something so you can see. So, and it depends on the what image or like what container it uses. So some of them are using more libraries that needs to be installed. So when it pops up, so you see this one is like now it will take some time to load. But as soon as this loads, I'll open it in the other. So this one now loaded, right? So the app loaded. Now if I open this again, so let me be someone else, right? And actually private window, I think this is not open to everyone. So let me just show it here. Or if you click on it now, it will just come up right away. It should, because the app is so that all people are working. This is just when the apps gets more popular, we have more apps, and someone is using it all the time. You'll get that.
That's really good.
Again,
yeah, I like to know that from a workflow perspective.
Right.
I think.
So if you want to do a demo, open it up first. Keep it open.
Make people feel like it's real snappy.
I mean, it is really snappy if someone is using it. Again,
Yeah.
Like it's just cost-wise, we have to.
Okay.
While it's better, and so we have to manage
Makes
the
sense.
resources. Yep.
Makes sense.
That's all.
Cool. All right. Thank you.
No problem. Thank you. Okay, I think this is a good ending. Some nice graphics, and this is the app that we built actually during that Chicago workshop in half a day. So with that, thank you everyone. We will post the recording on YouTube at some point. And if you have any other questions, you know where to find us. We're looking forward to hear from you. Take care.